Hey everyone, welcome to my new channel called The Unknown Zone, where we talk about Bigfoot, conspiracy theories, cold cases, anything kind of like unknown and mysterious. But I also want you to respond, tell me your theories on whatever we're discussing, or if you've had similar experience to what we're talking about. I would definitely love to hear your thoughts. So it's time to start working on your aluminum foil hats. So come join me on this journey of the unknown zone. Before we dig in too deep, I want to remind you to do your own research on this. Don't just go off of my opinions and my research. And I'd also like to inform you that this video will contain difficult subject matter. If you suffer from any of the topics explained in this video, I highly recommend that you watch it under supervision or watch it with extreme caution. So tonight on my YouTube channel, we are doing another Unknown Zone, and this is on the death/life of Vincent Van Gogh. Deciphering my thoughts on, do I think it was a suicide or do I think it was something else? Was he murdered? Was it an accident/murder? All these thoughts are going to be in this video, and I'll be honest, like starting right now, because this is the very first shot of my video for this, I don't know if I'll be able to get this all done in like one setting, one night. So throughout this video, if you see me kind of like swapping back between outfits and stuff, it's because of like my mindset into this and like how my mind is just like running with this. So let's get into this. When you think of Vincent Van Gogh, several things come to mind. Number one, then, he was a very eccentric kind of madman artist. He's famous for the painting called The Starry Night, and that he killed himself. That's all I really knew about him, to be honest with you. That's all I ever remember learning about him in school. I don't remember learning about the artist himself or his life. So some of the information I'm going to tell you was surprising to me. Vincent was born the oldest of his family, had 5 siblings, but he was not the first. His mother had a stillborn baby boy that she also named Vincent. He never felt like he could quite measure up to what his mother expected, almost like his mother wanted the original Vincent to be Vincent. As he grew older, he couldn't quite hold a job, even for working for his family. So he had been dismissed from several jobs, which resulted in him being thrown out by his own family. He struggled in the romance department as well. At one point, he even fell in love with a prostitute. This is the same prostitute that we know of today, of when he cut his ear off and delivered it to her as a present. At the age of 27, he began painting. He wanted to pay back his brother Theo, who has been financially supporting him all these years. He sent his paintings back to Theo in Paris, who was working at the same place that he had interned at, the family business. But unfortunately, the people of Paris were unresponsive to Vincent's work. He struggled with mental health and eventually checked himself into an institution. Whilst during his stay, he created some of his most famous work. The one you know of as The Starry Night was a view from a room in the institution where he stayed. After a short stay in Paris, he eventually made his way to Auvers, France. It's a quaint farm town along the River Oise. It was a popular place for famous artists. While there, he painted 1 picture a day. He would leave the inn he was staying at 8 o'clock and return at 5 in the evening. where Alaina, the daughter of the owner of the inn, would serve him on a daily basis. Rejected, bullied, and cast aside in life, he lived a nomadic life of loneliness. Only a handful of people truly loved Vincent for who he was. In the one town he had stayed in, there was actually a petition put out where townsfolk actually signed it against him. During his life, he had painted over 800 paintings, and there's 1,300 works of art done on paper as well. And there is now a museum placed in his honor, solely dedicated to him, housing his work of art. On July 27, 1892, Vincent Van Gogh left the Robert Inn, as he always did, in the morning, carrying his easel and his art supplies to the field. It had been a hot evening upon his return. The guests were enjoying their dinner sitting outside when Vincent appeared, stumbling, and had a buttoned-up coat, which was especially odd for being how hot it was. He was also not carrying his easel or his art supplies that he had taken with him earlier. He stumbled up to his room, and the owner went up to check on him to find him curled up in bed. When he asked what happened, he said, quote, "I wounded myself." He then opened up his jacket to show that he had been shot in the abdomen. His brother arrived the next day, staying with him until his passing. Again, I'd like to remind you that this video contains difficult topics. If you feel that you are struggling with any of these that I am bringing up, I advise that you either watch with caution or watch with someone. This theory is the recognized theory for what actually happened, although some claim that this is not what happened. So I want you to imagine the life he lived, rejected by society, lonely and shunned, repeating this in every single town that he stayed in. He was financially supported by his brother pretty much his entire life and felt like a burden to him. He had numerous failed relationships, one of which was with the prostitute that he cut his ear off and gave it to her as a present. And another one, I believed, but this is not actually confirmed, that he was also involved with his doctor's daughter because he had been seen numerous times with her, taking her out onto a boat and being friendly. 2 weeks prior to his death, he visited his brother Theo, who had recently had a newborn. While there, he discussed to Vincent that he was leaving his job with the family and wanted to start his own business. Still feeling burdened by this, he left in despair. His doctor reminded him in a heated argument one day that his brother had syphilis and that any amount of stress would be killing him. So he again replied to Vincent, "Imagine what the stress you are causing him is doing to him." Let's not forget that Vincent himself suffered from numerous mental illnesses. While on his deathbed, he told the authorities and his doctor, as well as his brother, he wanted to die like this and not to put the blame on anybody else. And maybe it was better for everyone. Okay, next we are discussing the murder accident theory, which is my favorite. And let me tell you, when I started hearing about these, the theories to this, it was like, oh my goodness, nuh-uh kind of thing. All right, so let's dig into this. So first and foremost, let's discuss the whole art supply and easel. He took it with him that day, but upon return after being shot, he didn't have it. Now that's not like the weird part is. The weird part is that people went looking for it and they never found the art supplies or his easel, as well as the revolver that he used to shoot himself with. Apparently, what he claims is that he passed out and then he went to look for the gun and couldn't find it. All of that stuff is missing. And like I said, nobody could find it. There was also no suicide note either. Along with his doctor, another physician was there examining him on his deathbed. And he claims that the bullet did not exit the body, and it was shot at a weird, or what he claimed as a crazy angle, and that you would have had to have shot it from your extended leg using your foot. What made better sense to the doctor was that somebody was in a crouching position, angling it up at him, and that he would have a difficult time trying to get the angle just right. And also, being that there was no exit wound, the physician at the time explained that someone would have had to have shot him from a distance. Also, the blood stain didn't match his account either, because his blood stain wasn't that big. If he would have passed out for the amount of time that he claimed he passed out for and walked clear from the wheat field, the blood stain would have been a lot bigger. Supposedly, he shot himself in the wheat field that he had been previously painting in. But there was witnesses in town that spotted him and a local bully that bullied him relentlessly. It was a boy named Rene, who also carried the same type of gun that was used to shoot Vincent, and it disappeared, and the boy Rene no longer had it. And when he was asked later on about it, he explained that Vincent stole it from him. But, like I said, witnesses put Vincent and this Rene kid, along with a couple other town boys, just a half a mile from the inn. And the witness claimed to have heard a gunshot. But when he got down from his ladder and checked, wasn't able to find anything. Now let's talk about this boy, Rene. He was no joke, a bully. He tortured Vincent pretty much every chance he got. And like I said, he even carried a revolver because he liked to be dressed up as Buffalo Bill. Now mind you, this is not just a boy, he was like a teenager. And he did such things like pouring salt in Vincent's coffee. He even put a snake in his art supply and then taunted him with the local girls in the area. They were constantly fighting over and over again. So some people think that they got into an argument and either Rene accidentally shot him or shot him on purpose. And let me remind you, what Vincent said to the authorities was not to blame anybody, almost like he was covering for Rene or somebody else. So today I watched a very, very, very good movie on Hulu called Loving Vincent. It is the story of Vincent Van Gogh actually the story takes place after his death. But it is very interesting, and one of the things that I find just like so intriguing about this movie is that 100% of the movie is done in oil paintings. So the entire time you're watching it, it's literally thousands of I don't know if it's thousands, but tons of oil paintings put together to make this video. And the actors actually acted it out on a green screen, and then the painters had to paint the scenes watching the actors and getting every movement, every facial expression, all that down to a T. What brought me to this movie is I'm actually doing some research for my Unknown Zone on here / YouTube video that I'm working on the death of Vincent Van Gogh, and deciphering do I think it was actually a suicide or was it something else? And by doing research for this, I came across this movie, and of course I had to watch it, but oh my gosh, I just can't even express how much I love this movie. And digging into Vincent Van Gogh, when I thought of him, I always just thought of him as an eccentric madman, I guess, and you learn so much about him, and it's yes, he had his issues, but there was so much more to him, and that's what I wish, that's what you learn. So basically, just to sum it up, A postmaster's son is delivering a letter from Vincent to his brother and finds out like his brother had passed away. And he kind of like starts his own investigation on the death of Vincent, stays in the same room, slept in the same bed, all of it. So number one, you definitely have to have an appreciation for art because, you know, not just for his art, because the style of the paintings is based off of his style of art. And number two, like the 100+ artists that came together to paint all these scenes, it's just incredible. So you have to, I mean, if you don't find appreciation for this, you're like soulless. But you know what I'm saying. If you are interested in what I've been talking about so far, like definitely check out this movie. It is great, I'm telling you. So I'm gonna leave a link down in my description box so you can watch a YouTube video on how they actually made the movie. Now it's not my YouTube video, but if you can't watch the movie, if you don't have a Hulu subscription, I highly recommend that you at least check out this video on how they made it because it is very, very interesting. So now it's my turn to ask you, what do you think? Do you think it was suicide? Or do you think Vincent Van Gogh was murdered, maybe on purpose or accident? Please respond and let me know in the comments what your theories are. And also, like I said at the beginning, do your own research. And thanks for watching The Unknown Zone with me, Alaina Rivers. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.